Hello students. In the previous video classes, I explained about microsporogenesis and megasporogenesis. In microsporogenesis, we discussed about the process of formation of pollen grain and the structure of pollen grain. Whereas in megasporogenesis, we discussed about the process of formation of embryo sac and the structure of embryo sac. In today's video class, we are going to explain about how this pollen grain reaches to the stigma of the flower and how the fertilization takes place, and after fertilization how the seed it is going to form and how it continue the progeny, how the new plants are formed, we will try to discuss. And today's our topic is pollination. Pollination can be defined as the process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of same flower or to the stigma of different flower. Both the cases comes under pollination itself. That means the pollen grain which is formed by one flower, it may get pollinated to the stigma of the same flower, or in the second case the pollen grain which is produced by one flower, it may travel either by wind or water, sometimes by biotic components like insects, birds, etc. By any of these agents, they finally transfer to the stigma of another flower. Both the cases comes under pollination only. Such pollination includes two types. The first type is called as self-pollination and the second type it is called as cross-pollination. Now we will discuss about the self-pollination. Self-pollination means this is a process in which the transfer of pollen grains to the stigma of same flower or to another flower which is present on the same plant. That means the pollen grain which is produced by one flower, it fertilizes the stigma of the same flower. This is case 1. And in case 2, the pollen grain which is produced by one flower, it reaches to the stigma of another flower, but that flower it is present on the same plant. That means two flowers, but both the flowers they are present on the same plant. So case 1 is the pollen grain which is produced by the anther of one flower, it fertilizes the stigma of the same flower. So within the same flower is a case 1, whereas between two flowers of same plant is case 2. Let us take, if it is taking place within the same flower, then that is called as autogamy. I clearly wrote it here. Pollination in which the pollen grain from the anther of a flower are transferred to the stigma of the same flower. As I already told you, the fertilization or pollination it takes place within the same flower, then that is called as autogamy. Whereas the second case is two flowers but both the flowers they are present on the same plant, then that is called as jeitonogamy. Whereas pollination in which the pollen from the anther of one flower are transferred to the stigma of another flower but born on the same plant, that means same flower is autogamy, whereas two flowers of same plant is called as jeitonogamy. Hope you understand. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of self-pollination we will see. Let us take the first one, that is advantages. If you take advantages, pollen grains are not wasted because it is taking place within the same flower most of the time, whereas between two flowers of same plant, so there is no much wastage of pollen grains. So almost all the pollen grains will be effectively utilized in self pollination, whereas the purity of a generation is maintained. That means there won't be any contamination, because if pollination takes place between two flowers, this two flowers ka characteristics will be separate, so there will be some sort of contamination. But as in self pollination, the fertilization it is taking place within the same flower, there is no contamination, or even between two flowers of the same plant also, as they are two flowers but they are they are born on the same plant, so there won't be any contamination because they share the common characters. And there are some disadvantages also in this self pollination, because the pollination, it is taking place between same flowers, so there is no mixes of a new variety. Students, I'll tell you, every day if I am going to serve you same type of sweet, let us take just for example, I am every day serving you gulab jamun. You may like gulab jamun, but after few days of continuous eating the same kind of sweet, you don't like it. That means the pollination, it is taking place within the same flower or between two flowers of the same plant, includes or involves the transfer of same type of characters from generations after generations. Because of this, there won't be origination of new characters. That's why this is a biggest demerit of the self pollination. So here I clearly wrote new and healthier varieties are not formed. Here there is no formation of new varieties because the transfer of pollen grain takes place within the same plant, so they are going to share, that means the offsprings are going to share the same characters. Whereas due to the continuous self pollination, the progeny they becomes weak, and the origin of new characters are missing. Let us take what are the adaptations exhibited by the plants for self pollination. There are certain adaptations that will be exhibited by plants to self pollination. So the first one is bisexuality. Bisexuality means having two types of reproductive organs. You know very well, in flower the male reproductive organ is called as andrecium and the female reproductive organ, it is called as gynoecium. If both andrecium and also gynoecium, if both are present on the same flower, then that is called as bisexual flower, which is also called as hermaphrodite flower. Whereas the second adaptation is homogamy. What is homogamy? Let us see. Anther and stigma of the bisexual flowers of the same plants mature at the same time. I mean, the andrecium which produces pollen grain and the gynoecium which has to produce the ova, both they produce the pollen grains and also ova at the same time. So because they are producing their respective gametes at the same time, there is no chance of missing of the fertilization. So that is called as homogamy. Examples also, I mentioned mirabilis, which is simply called as 4 o'clock plant, potato, sunflower, etc. So these are the best example for homogamy. Hope you understand homogamy. If both the reproductive structures, if they attain maturity at the same time, then that is called as homogamy. Whereas the next type of adaptation is cleistogamy. This is really a unique type of adaptation exhibited by the flowers which show self pollination. Really, it is a very unique character. You know very well, once the maturity of flower takes place, the calyx and corolla they open and they show this andrecium and also gynoecium out. You can be able to clearly see the andrecium and gynoecium once the flower attains maturity. And that type of flowers are called as open flowers. Whereas in cleistogamy, you can be able to see a very different situation. What you know? Even the flower attains maturity, the flower remains closed. That means the calyx and corolla they remains closed. That means the andrecium and gynoecium never you can be able to see it from external side. You understood? That means the flower throughout its lifespan it remains closed. That is called as cleistogamy. Because the flower remains closed, the pollen grains which are released, they don't have any chance, any way to go out. They have to fertilize the stigma which is present in the same flower. For example, if they open, the pollen grain may carried by wind, or they may carried by any bird, or they may be carried by any insect. but here the flower remains closed, so there is no chance of escaping of pollen grain. They have to fertilize the stigma of the same flower. So this is called as cleistogamy, and this type of flowers are called as cleistogamous flowers, very simply called as closed flowers. And examples also I mentioned here. Oxalis is the best example for cleistogamy. Hope you understand cleistogamy. Now we'll take the second type of pollination, that is cross pollination, where this cross pollination is also called as xenogamy, where the process of transfer of pollen grains from the flower of one plant to the stigma of another flower of another plant, then that is called, hope you understand, again I'll repeat it, the pollen grain which is produced by one plant, it reaches to the stigma of another flower of another plant, then that is called as cross pollination, which is also called as xenogamy. In this also we will take some advantages and also some disadvantages. Let us take advantages first. Did you notice, students, one thing very clearly? Advantages are more in cross pollination when you compare this with the advantages of the self pollination. Even a genuine fact I am telling you, even plants also prefer cross pollination than self pollination, because in this more advantages are there, because the new formed progeny, they can be able to develop better characters than the parents and better adaptivity than parents. A new character can be able to see, you can be able to observe new generation in cross pollination. That's why even plants also prefer cross pollination than self pollination. Let us take the merits. Seeds are more and viable, that means they are more potential and strengthy when you compare to the seeds that are produced by the self pollination. And progenies are healthier. Just now I mentioned the progeny, they are having better qualities than their parents, and adaptability is high when they compare to the parents, and new varieties can be produced. So this is a very very important advantage of cross pollination. By cross pollination you can be able to see new varieties formation. And of course, cross pollination, how much it is benefited, there are few demerits also in that. Let us take the demerits. Because cross pollination, it depends upon several agents. There is no surety for the fertilization. As for example, I'll tell you very easily. One honeybee is there, it wanted to dwell honey from one flower. Let us take from rose flower, it wanted to take the honey. Now when it lands on this particular rose flower, the pollen grains of the rose flower will be dusted on its body, and there is no guarantee that honeybee next flower also it is going to land on the rose only. Sometimes it may land on chrysanthemum, then this pollen grains will be wasted. Hope you understand. So there is no surety for the fertilization in this. That is the biggest drawback of cross pollination. Hope you understand. That's why there is a huge wastage of pollen grains can be seen in cross pollination. First disadvantage is there is no surety of fertilization, because there is no guarantee, you can't be able to give guarantee. For example, cross pollination may, let us take, wind is contributing. Wind, it blow in many directions, you can't give any guarantee for its direction. For example, the wind which is blowing on one species of plant, there is no guarantee that definitely it will touch the same species of plant, so this pollen grains will be wasted. So the first one is there is no guarantee of pollination, and next one is huge wastage of pollen grains can be noticed in cross pollination. These two are the biggest drawbacks of cross pollination. Hope you understand. Now, how the flowers of self pollination shown some adaptations, like that cross pollination also show some adaptations. Let us take the first one, that is unisexuality. Unisexuality means in the name itself, I need not to explain it very elaborately. Very easily you can be able to understand. Unisexuality means flowers with only one sex, means flowers either with male reproductive organ or flowers with female reproductive organ. Now, monoecious plant. Monoecious plants means when male and female flowers are born on the same plant. Dioecious plants means when male and female flowers are born on different plants. Examples also I mentioned. Monoecious plant means maize, cucurbita family and castor, whereas a dioecious papaya and cannabis, these are the examples. Again I am telling you, unisexual flowers means flowers with only one sex. Now, the next adaptation is dichogamy. Dichogamy means here the plant produces flower, and flower it is considered as the chief sexual reproductive part, as every one of us know. In that, the flower androecium is the male reproductive part, whereas gynoecium is a female reproductive part. Every one of us know. In this dichogamy, what happens, either androecium attains maturity earlier than gynoecium, or gynoecium attains maturity earlier than androecium. For example, if androecium attains maturity earlier than gynoecium, then that is called as protoandry. Proto means earlier, andry, that means androecium attains earlier maturity than the gynoecium, whereas protogyny, that means gynoecium attains maturity earlier than the androecium, then that is called as protoandry and protogyny. If you want, I'll read it also. Protoandry means stamens mature earlier than stigma. This is called as protoandry, and examples also I clearly mentioned: jasmine, sunflower, lady's finger, etc. Whereas protogyny means stigma attains maturity earlier than stamens. Then this is called as what? Protogyny. And examples also I clearly mentioned: rose, tobacco, etc. Now, there are certain agents which helps the cross pollination. Let us take what are the agents. These agents are of two types. The first one is abiotic agents. In the name itself, abiotic. Abiotic means non-living agents. Biotic, that means living agents. And that living agents includes insects, birds, bats, or even snails. Or even snakes also acts as biotic agents. Abiotic, if you take wind and water, they comes under abiotic agents. Let us take the first one, that is abiotic agents. In that, the first one is anemophily. Anemophily means if the pollination takes place with the help of wind, then that is called as anemophily. Clearly I mentioned the examples also: sugarcane, maize, wheat, bamboo, pinus, papaya, etc. These are the best examples for anemophily. Anemophily means if the pollination takes place with the help of wind, then that is called as anemophily. Whereas hydrophily means if the pollination takes place with the help of water, then that is called as hydrophily. And I mentioned few examples also: potamogeton and lotus, etc. Whereas again this hydrophily, it is of two types: hypohydrophily. Next one is epihydrophily. You please try to understand these words clearly. Automatically you will understand what is the meaning of these words. Hypohydrophily. Hypo means below. Hydrophily, that means below the water level. That means if the transfer of pollen grains takes place inside the water, then that is called as hypohydrophily. Epi means what? Above or upon. Hydrophily, that means above the water level, then that is called as epihydrophily. See here, plants which are pollinated outside the water level, then that is called as epihydrophily. And examples also I mentioned: hypohydrophily examples are Zostera, whereas epihydrophily example is Vallisneria. Next agent is biotic agent. Biotic agent means, I clearly told, living agents. If they help in pollination, then they are called as biotic agents. The first one is entomophily. Students, please don't get confused here. The upper one is anemophily. Anemophily means by wind, whereas this is not anemophily, this is entomophily. Entomophily means the pollination if it takes place with the help of insects, then that is called as entomophily. Entomophily is very very important. Why? 80% of the pollination it takes place with the help of insects only. So 80% of the total pollination it takes place only by anemophily. That's why I'm really sorry, takes place by entomophily. So entomophily is a very very important type of pollination. Whereas to attract insects, there must be some type of speciality must be there in the flowers. So what are that specialities exhibited by the flowers? That specialities are they are brightly colored so that the insects greatly attracted towards this particular flower. Even we also we admire the beauty of a flower because of its color and because of its fragrance and because of its attractive nature. Why? Because they are in multiple colors, they are in a most attractive color so that we they draw the attention of us. So like that, even insects also their attention will be drawn by their beautiful coloration and beautiful fragrance and also by the production of some nectar. See here, brightly colored and sweet smell and also produce nectar, that means honey. Now, the second type of biotic agent is ornithophily. Ornithophily means if the pollination takes place by birds, then that is called as ornithophily. And the next one is chiropterophily. You know very well, chiroptero means bat. So, if the pollination takes place with the help of bat, then that is called as a chiropterophily. And the next one is malacophily. Malacophily means if the pollination takes place with the help of snails, then that is called as malacophily. And myrmecophily, that means if the pollination takes place with the help of ants, then that is called as myrmecophily. And even I did not mention, but there are many other biotic agents. For example, in in some plants, snakes also takes place in the pollination. So the pollination if it takes place with the help of snakes, then that is called as ophiophily. Like that, there are so many types of biotic agents, but I here mentioned very very important biotic agents only. Hope you understand. If any doubts, you can WhatsApp me. Thank you so much.